This content has been brought to you by my day ones. If you want to support this channel, you can head over to Patreon at villainus_music. What is poppin'? It is Overthrow Media, your best place for hip-hop, politics, and news. Today we'll be talking about addiction when we come right back.
Blaming our skin for your insignificance. Aiming your stick at us, no hesitance. Truth is, fam, you brought the pestilence. Look inside your house and go and handle that shit, bitch.
Before we jump into this, we gotta hear a word from our sponsor. Nigga, you know I don't got no goddamn sponsor. My only sponsor is me, so make sure to support me on Teespring and Patreon. I'm gonna put a disclaimer. This is my opinion. My opinion is based off observation, and I think I'm very correct, but I am not a college-educated psychologist or neurologist by any means, shape, or form. However, I have spent a lot of time reading and studying around these specific things, as well as being forced to go through groups on them. So, I'm about to dive into this. What is addiction? I'd say addiction is a false concept. Yeah, I said it dead ass. Addiction is not real. It is not a real thing, at least not in the way they portray it. We talk about addiction a lot like you try this drug and then you get hooked onto it and you come back to it and back to it. But there is a thing that's chemical dependency, but chemical dependency isn't addiction, right? Isn't those things that make you feel powerless. Chemical dependency is when your body gets attached to a drug and it pulls you there. But addiction goes far beyond that. Addiction surpasses chemical dependency. When chemical dependency no longer is a thing because you've been clean long enough, your addiction still pulls at you. Why is that? How am I saying that addiction still pulls at you if I just told you that it's not real? I guess we're gonna have to go into what I understand about how the brain works. So we're born with all these chemicals and neurons that fire within inside our brain, right? And there's a specific chemical that we call dopamine that inspires you to pursue those things that reward you. So like water, food, sex. Now we all know this, right? We all know that's where the root of what they call addiction stems from. But if that is what determines someone's an addict, then guess what? We're all addicts, every single person on this planet. Because we all have those rewards from any drug, we have those rewards from sex, we get rewards from food, from water, anything that sustains us in any way. You're like, how do drugs sustain you? Well, mentally, to be honest, it allows people to continue to get through their trauma, which I would argue is the real root of the problem. When we dive into the crack epidemic, we would say that crack did this a lot of times. But when you look and actually speak to people, people were carrying shit tons of trauma, from sexual assault to physical violence to the state, incarcerating, enslaving, abusing people, to the systems that we live under, keeping them marginalized in corners where they have to struggle just to be able to feed them, house themselves, or for some folks, never ever being able to feed or house themselves. That is extremely traumatic. And people look for escapes, right? And we know this all the time. They look for ways to treat their trauma. And that's where the drugs come in. That's where they get high. That's where we see them turn into so-called addicts. But are they really addicts? Others do it with their work, with hustling, with making money. People don't see that as addiction, but they'll be just as addicted. And you take it from me. I was addicted to selling dope when I sold dope. It's not the drugs. It is not the chemical reaction in your brain. It is your response to trauma. The true culprit of what we see happen under addiction is trauma. It's people trying to escape the fact that their parents did something fucked up to them, that their teacher, that their priest that did some ill shit to them, that the police beat them every day, that their parents beat them every day. And the list goes on. And then during living in that life of using drugs or being in these streets, they pick up more trauma. So more trauma do they have to escape to be able to survive. One thing I've always noticed when I went to AA and NA meetings is how people just traded one addiction for another. They drink coffee like they sniff coke. They smoke cigarettes like they smoked meth. They're dependent on their circle the way they're dependent on their drugs. Because addiction is not real. The need for community is real. The need for soothing and healing is real. The needing to be able to cope and get by in a world that hates you is real. Those are the things that really impact people on a day-to-day basis and keep them so-called addicted. It isn't the drugs. It isn't some magical addiction thing that you can go wash away with AA and NA and saying some higher power. The reason they release to the higher power, in my opinion, is because the system and all the traumatic things it brings are so overbearing, seems so much greater than us. Because it is greater than the individual, but not the collective. So I guess we get to how do we treat addiction? Well, first off, mutual aid, motherfucker. Yeah, mutual aid. That means make sure motherfuckers get housed, make sure motherfuckers have food in their stomach, make sure people have their needs met, especially if you have excess privileges you really don't need. By that mutual aid, people will build community that will give that foundation to be able to feel supported and loved. They'll be able to work through their traumas by having those support networks. And that's how we solve addiction. We don't treat the addiction, we treat the traumas that predated the addiction. Treat the traumas they picked up along the addiction. Addiction will go away. All right, thank y'all for rocking with me. This was a little short one, but I had to get it in because addiction is a really big thing. And I want to hear in the comment section, do you feel what I'm talking about? Do you disagree? Let's get into it. Y'all want to pull out the DSM and talk about trauma, or do you want to pull out an AA manual? I don't know. Pull out some books on chemical dependency and shit. Let's get it. I'm down to have that conversation in the comment section. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell. Make sure it's personalized so you can stay notified every time I drop a video. You have my permission to share this content on any venue you want. You have free reign to download it and re-upload it if you feel like it. So please do. Let's get this message out. Also follow me on all my social medias. That means villainus_music at TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, Twitch, and Patreon. Yeah, make sure to put on that Patreon. Thank you for rocking with me, y'all, and I'll catch y'all later. Make sure to tune in Wednesday where we'll be talking about the religion of the left. Yeah, the left is a goddamn religion. I said it, I meant it. All right, thanks for rocking with me. I'm out of here. Deuces.
Walking through the crease and the cracks of the streets.
What's poppin'? This is Overthrow Media, your best place for hip-hop, politics, and news. What's poppin'? It is Overthrow Media. What's poppin'? It is Overthrow Media, your best place. What's poppin'? It is Overthrow Media, your best place. What's poppin' is Overthrow. I feel better about my life now.